Well, Zimbabwe is also closely monitoring the situation as Eloise is expected to make landfall. Let's talk to Meteorological Service Department Deputy Director, Lenia Gopo. Thank you so very much for joining us, ma'am, and we appreciate your time here on SABC News.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be joining you and updating you on what Eloise is going to be making over our countries.
Yeah, meteorologically, I mean, you know, if I'm to look at the definition of what a cyclone is, it's quite difficult for the ordinary man like myself. You know, it's a large scale of air mass rotating around a center of low atmospheric pressure. Can you put it in layman's terms for us, please, to understand clearly what is a cyclone and really the causes of this?
So a tropical cyclone is basically a deep low pressure system which is associated with very thick cloud bands, and they can go for quite big radiuses to cover large areas, and they are associated with strong winds, heavy rain, also thunderstorms. They're associated with tropical cyclones. And I think just to differentiate a bit in terms of the difference between tropical cyclone and tropical storm, it's basically because the depth of the center of the low, because this is a low pressure system which is associated with strong winds, rain, and thunderstorms. And the difference between a tropical cyclone and a tropical storm is the depth of the low as well as the speeds associated with those low pressure systems. So there's actually a categorization that is done when we're looking at these systems, whether it's a tropical storm or tropical cyclone, the associated wind speeds and low pressure systems associated with that.
I understand that when the cyclones hit land, they lose their power, but certainly do leave a lot of destruction behind. Talk to us about that loss of force from when they are before they reach inland to the point that they reach inland.
Also, when they are in the ocean, as long as their temperatures are above between maybe 28 and 31 degrees Celsius, they're able to support the continuous intensification of the low pressure system and the strong winds. So the continuous feed of moisture as well as the temperatures, they support the intensification of the system. So that's why it intensifies when it's in the ocean and when the temperatures are good enough, you know, to support the intensification of that low pressure system. But when they get over land, there is not much moisture on land as compared to in the oceans. So that's why when they get over land, they tend to downgrade into a storm. When initially it was a cyclone, it can degrade into a storm or into a depression. What it simply means, it would have lost so much energy and it won't be as intense as it was when it's in the ocean. So it's the interaction between that low pressure system with the land. There's friction that happens and it tends to lose the energy. It tends to the pressure tends to be so, it doesn't continue to be so deep, but it weakens as it gets over land.
Yeah, I assume you're monitoring, what's happening in Beira in Mozambique. We're actually just showing those visuals here a short while ago, and it does look particularly scary. We do understand indeed that the same thing might then be happening in KwaZulu-Natal, as well as in parts of Limpopo. I saw places like Giyani will be affected, places like Vuwani will be affected. But my question, as it is likely to then hit South Africa, how bad would the situation then be? I mean, as I look at those visuals coming out of Beira, I worry that this we might be seeing similar in South Africa, the parts that have already been warned. What do you anticipate?
So maybe I'll just go back a little bit to say a tropical cyclone Eloise tropical storm Eloise intensified yesterday into tropical cyclone. That is yesterday, 22 January on Friday. And this happened when it was still in the Mozambican Channel, where it had so much feed of moisture and the temperatures were quite sufficient to cause the intensification. But while in the Indian Ocean yesterday, its position led to a bit of drying out of some parts of Zimbabwe, most parts of Zimbabwe, and northern part, the Limpopo area where we share a border with South Africa. This is because moisture was being drawn from our countries, then the southern part of Zimbabwe, as well as Limpopo province of South Africa, and it was going into that, was feeding into that low pressure system. But as the tropical cyclone was moving further inland, it then started influencing the eastern part of Zimbabwe, and it made landfall early morning today. So it has downgraded from a tropical cyclone. Now it's a tropical depression. So what it means is the intensity it had when it made landfall in Beira, it does not sustain the same intensity. It loses a bit of strength when it gets over land. So right now it's eastern and southern Zimbabwe, as well as Botswana and South Africa, the Limpopo province, and we're anticipating that it looks like it's moving quite faster, and we expect it to be moving off Zimbabwe by tomorrow. So it should be influencing more South Africa. That is by tomorrow. And we in Zimbabwe, we are anticipating the eastern and southern part of Zimbabwe to the areas that are expected to have the highest rainfall to receive between 100 above 100 millimeters. That is the extreme southeastern part of Zimbabwe, where we also share border with Africa. So it's likely that those areas can also receive that much rainfall as we move tonight into tomorrow.
All right, let's leave it there. Linia, thank you so very much for that knowledgeable input you've given us here on SABC News. We certainly do appreciate it, ma'am. Thank you. All right, we continue then on the topic, and for more, let's try to reconnect with KwaZulu-Natal Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs MEC, Sipotlo Moga. Apologies there, I think that we had some problems with the technology earlier on with our Zoom connection. So let's begin there where we left off. So, you're not new in the province to natural disasters. Let's talk about your preparedness for Cyclone Eloise. You've seen those visuals. We've been speaking to a meteorologist right now. The impact that it's likely then to have in those parts of KZN that have already been warned. Let's talk then about that preparedness. We know that a lot of the time it's the most vulnerable who are most affected by natural disasters.
Well, let's start by apologizing for a network connection. However, we really want to indicate that we have been on the campaign alerting our people in KwaZulu-Natal as a whole, but in particular the northern part of KwaZulu-Natal, especially for Umkhanyakude district and King Cetshwayo and Zululand, because those are the districts that are affected with this cyclone. And we want to appeal to our people across those areas in the part of northern KwaZulu-Natal to try by all means to be safe. Our disaster team, provincial disaster team management have been activated. We are meeting, even today we are going to meet around 6 o'clock just to assess the incident that might been happening or that we anticipate might happen. We also want to encourage our people to not take any trip during this time, because they might have challenges in terms of the roads and the bridge, and they must try by all means to be on the safer zone, because we don't want to hear that there is a life that has been lost through this disaster that might happen. We are working tirelessly as a provincial government to ensure that our people are safe. Hence, we are appealing to our people, even private sector, to also assist when we are calling them to assist our people, because working together with different stakeholders, we can save our people. This is what we are appealing to our people.
Yeah, MEC Hlomoga, it's one thing to, alert people, as you rightly say, and certainly it's important to get that message across to the public as to what's likely and what might happen. But, this is a natural disaster. There's not much that anybody can do. We can't stop it. If it happens, it happens. If it destructs, it destructs. In terms of alerting people, especially those that will be at the center of it, what are they supposed to do? What at this time? You're saying that you're telling them they shouldn't be traveling, rightly so, because there'll be floods and so forth. But do they wait and just wait for this the cyclone to hit their homes or hit their properties? What exactly does one do in a situation like this?
Well, correctly so, as already indicated, a natural disaster is not something that is planned. However, we need to ensure that we prepare ourselves. We activate our team. We request our people to be on the safer zone. Remember, if I can make an example, if you were supposed to drive or go to an area where maybe you might cross a bridge, we're saying don't use that road. Don't go anywhere, because we might never know what will happen. Those are the things that we are saying. Let's be at least try to ensure that we are in the safer zone. We will be at home, but even at home, we will try to ensure that you are in the safer zone. We also going to all the councillors across those districts. We've already engaged them through the district that whatever that might happen, they must be the first one to be closer to the resident, to our people, to provide support. Also, hence we are calling for even other stakeholders, amakhosi asendlunkulu, abafundisi, business people. We are saying all stakeholders, we want to appeal to them that whatever that might happen, if we request that, can we go and see those households? We go there and we go and with something to provide immediate support. For sure, there might be a long-term support that might be needed, but for immediate support, because we can't leave our people stranded because we are the current government.
All right, MEC, thank you very much for giving us your time. And just a last question I just thought of while I still have you on the line with me. In a situation that there is destruction, which is likely to happen, where people's homes are destroyed. I understand you're talking about the fact of going to places with something to help people. But say in a situation where their homes maybe are destructed or flooded, will you then be able to make some sort of contingency plans in the meantime for those people to maybe house somewhere? When I say, what are the plans in place, those are some of the things I'm talking about, not just pre-plans, but also post-plans.
Yes, indeed. We are working as all spheres of government. We have already engaged the Department of Transport, we have engaged the Department of Human Settlement. We are working with the municipalities. We are also already engaged the national government. Say, in case whatever that might happen, we have a plan. We are going to provide that immediate support while we are waiting to come with a long-term support. Like, we can't allow our people to sleep on the road. We are going to engage the municipalities to open halls, the churches to open their church infrastructure, and different stakeholders, because what we're not going to allow to see any a person sleeping on the road on the basis that he don't have a shelter. We will try our level best to provide a temporary shelter if it happened that one household or whatever, how many households they've been affected through this disaster.
All right, MEC, thank you so very much for agreeing to speak to us here on SABC News, and we certainly hope that all those who will be affected the impact won't be as bad as we've seen what's happening in Beira. So all the best of luck to you in KZN as you will be dealing with that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. But we must continue to fight COVID-19 because we are trying by all means to ensure that our people are safe and we fight for this virus. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. That's the Cocta MEC there speaking to us on SABC News about a tropical cyclone. Now cyclone, it was indeed a storm and moved to Cyclone Eloise, which has indeed then strengthened, and we are indeed getting information that it is to hit parts of KZN. So as we speak to the Cocta MEC there about the readiness then of the province. All right, let's carry on talking about the cyclone, and our own meteorologist at SABC News now joins us on the line. Kumza, a very good afternoon to you. I mean, you've certainly been watching all of this kind of unfolding. We watch you giving us those lovely weather reports. It's not so great this time around. Give us an idea of what this is, what's going on, and really what to prepare for, particularly in the parts of South Africa that are likely to be mostly impacted.
All right, so a very good afternoon to you, Flo, and your SA Today viewers. So we currently have that storm. It was a tropical cyclone yesterday. So as soon as it made landfall over the southern parts of Mozambique, it downgraded to a moderate tropical storm, Eloise. So this tropical system is going to affect our country, mainly the northeastern parts of the country. So according to the tracking system of this tropical system, it is going to move in a westerly to northwesterly direction, moving into parts of the Limpopo province. So the rain bands are going to be extended into the northeastern parts of the country. So the areas to note at this stage is the central and the eastern parts of the Limpopo province, the eastern parts of Mpumalanga, as well as the northeastern corner of KwaZulu-Natal. So as that current tropical storm does sit over the Limpopo province, it is going to drop a lot of rainfall, quite significant rainfall. We are looking towards 200 to 300 millimeters of rain over a 24-hour period. So it looks like as this tropical system starts to track in a northwesterly direction, moving to the southeastern parts of Botswana, it is still going to extend its rain bands over the central and the eastern parts of the country, still putting those areas over an 80 to 100% chance of some showers and rain. So we are expecting persistent rainfall, especially over the central and the eastern parts of Limpopo, the eastern parts of Mpumalanga, as well as the northeastern areas of KwaZulu-Natal.
Kumza, we've been hearing from everywhere that, that Eloise went from tropical storm, it strengthened, it moved to cyclone. Obviously, for those of us that don't know all of these meteorological words and terms and goings on very well, we don't understand how that happens. So maybe you can just tell us, how do we get to that point from storm and cyclone, and when do we make the call that it's no longer a storm, it's now a cyclone? What would have had to have happened?
Yes, so the other meteorologists did also mention that a tropical cyclone, it's a low pressure system. But what's interesting about this low pressure system, it usually develops under very warm conditions. So the oceans have to be very, very warm. So what happened is it started developing to the far east of Madagascar. That's where it started generating all of its energy. So as it was moving more westwards into Madagascar, it started losing all of its energy. But when it moved back into the Mozambique channel again, it started picking up. The wind speeds also started becoming up. That's when it intensified to become a tropical cyclone. So now when these systems are usually driven by warm oceans, so the moment it starts to move over land, it loses its energy. The wind speeds start to moderate. That's why at this point we were able to categorize it down to a moderate tropical storm, Eloise.
All right, Kumza Masizana, our very own meteorologist at SABC News. Thank you very much for giving us that update. No doubt we'll be hearing more from you with regards to this cyclone Eloise. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bill.
All right, that's Kumza for us. All right.